season, coaching changes, free agency, trades, the NFL draft, OTAs. We're going to get you ready for the NFL season in 2025. Of course, the squad is all here. We got Coach Mike Dub, Commanders Insider in the building. Real AG, Alex Gibbons in the building, Kansas City Chiefs Insider, and the newest member of the network, Young RG, Robert Garcia, Chargers Insider. Gentlemen, how you feeling? How's everything going?
I'm like, am I the only one that's still hearing this?
No, that's live. That's live.
Right.
That's live. That is live. So yes, we are here. We're in the building, man. New show, new squad, new cast, man. We are doing it big for 2025, man. And gentlemen, how y'all feeling today? Starting to my right on the screen, Alex, the real AG. How you feeling out there, good brother?
I mean, I think brother, I'm doing pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Squad's still here, out here.
Yes.
Thanks to the refs and the league, but we out here.
Had to start with him, huh, Coach?
I'm saying, man. I'm sorry, brother.
Let me have my moment, all right? It's the only time of year I get.
Yeah, indeed.
So happens to be every time.
I was about to say, it just happens to be every year.
Just so happens to be every year, but this is the only moment. This is the only time I get. I got to deal with all the stuff up to this point.
Right. 5 minutes in and you're already being smug. Come on, man. Come on.
I got to, dude.
Yes, indeed. So to his bottom of his of my bottom right, Coach Mike Dub, how you doing out there, good brother? How you feeling?
Tom heals all wounds. Great season. But we're here. It's a bright future. I'm feeling good. Ready to get things rocking for the offseason, come back strong. But hey, listen, man, it's a tough loss, but I'm all right.
Okay. Yeah. You sound at peace. I'm not mad. You sound at peace.
25 years of experience. I should say actually 35 years of experience.
Right. Okay. All right, and last but not least, the young man to the pod, young man to the network, the young RG, Robert Garcia. How you feeling out there, good brother?
Doing good today, Coach. I think you and me both, we've kind of let that loss, the pain has subsided a little bit. We're kind of on to bigger and better things now. Just go Birds, right?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Right.
Get out of here with that.
The fan base is rooting for the Eagles according to Twitter. So yeah, you're right about that. But hey, man, I just like to see good football when my teams ain't in the race no more. So it is what it is. It is what it is, man. But they definitely here in the building, man. Like I said, the NFL offseason bliss is here. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna break down everything we're coming down through the NFL offseason because again, like. Outside of Alex, everybody's team is looking forward to the offseason at this point, So we're gonna jump right into the show. So let's talk about first and foremost. Let's talk about coaching changes. That is the hot button topic of the moment here. So let's talk about some coaching changes in short order here. So let's get here. Let's talk about it. So the coaching changes have been swirling, and we got new coaches. I believe we have 7 to 8 now coaches that have been hired. We got one vacancy left. So let's talk about how we feel like these particular positions and hires are going to work for each individual team, give them a grade, and whether or not it's going to work or it's going to be a complete object disaster. So let's start with listing who the coaching changes are. So we got Mike Vrabel in New England. We got Ben Johnson in Chicago. We got Aaron Glenn in New York with the Jets. We got Leon Coleman with the Jaguars. We got Pete Carroll with the Raiders and Brian Schottenhauer with the Cowboys. Now, the Saints' job is unfilled. They're interviewing at the moment, and hopefully they will have somebody soon. But let's start off with the top two here. And I think we did a coin flip in the back. So who wants to go first with the Patriots here? Let's start off.
That's me, baby.
That's it. So let's start off with the real AG. Let's talk about the Patriots. Talk about that landing spot for Mike Vrabel, how you grade it, and will it work or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think my overall impression from the move was that this was ultimately, I think, the guy that the Patriots wanted to hire, and just kind of rushed to justice last offseason, if you will. And then he became available, and it was like, damn, how do we get Gerard out of the building? Because they did not give that guy the time of day in terms of I don't know what the reasons for getting rid of him, but it didn't seem like they were very patient with a rebuild, if you will. But, that being said, I do think that Mike Vrabel is going to be a very effective hire for New England. Like, fits the mold of coming from the old Patriot way and maybe putting his own brand on it, which we've already kind of seen him do to some pretty good success in Tennessee. And I think he's also, like I said all that stuff about Gerard Mayo, because I think that Vrabel probably is going to have a much longer leash, to get things turned around. And then just looking at the staff he's brought in, I mean, he's certainly, surrounding himself with, maybe some further pieces of the old Patriot way, but experienced coordinators or former head coaches are, his top assistants from his time in Tennessee. So, he's not coming in with a bunch of question marks in terms of like what they're going to do schematically and who's on his staff and what their ideologies are going to be. And like I said, I think this is the guy that they really wanted to hire. So I think it was a good move. It probably was penciled in the minute the offseason ticker started for New England. And I think ultimately, I'll give this an A- grade, just for it being the cut from the Belichick cloth, like already been successful, an outside organization that is currently pretty trash once they got rid of him. And, I think can be the guy to turn things around. Let's just see how patient Kraft is with that, given how he was with Gerard Mayo.
Right. Yeah, Gerard seemed like a lame duck hire in the sense of how they did him. And when soon as Vrabel came available, it's pretty much, you're out, he's in. So, yeah, I definitely get that. All right, so let's talk about Ben Johnson then. So moving over to Chicago, they got a offensive-minded head coach, a very savvy play calling veteran from Detroit. So how do you feel about Ben Johnson's hire in Chicago? How's that feel?
Yeah, so I think ultimately two things can be true about the Ben Johnson hire. One being that it was the right hire to make, and two being that it could absolutely not work out at all. I like I said, I think it was the really kind of like Vrabel, the only move Chicago could make. You have the, highly touted coordinator from a pretty damn explosive offensive system. That, I mean, was just making fools of some defenses this year with, plays he was setting up. And you're pairing that with your number one overall pick prodigy at QB that didn't pan out, the first year under a defensive minded coach. So, this was the move they had to make. That being said, I said it could not pan out because, I mean, he hasn't been an offense or a head coach. You don't know. I mean, there's been plenty of coordinators that have been uber successful coordinators, and once it's their own show, it just doesn't all seem to come together. So yeah, so it could work out that way, and the other side of it is also how patient is ownership going to be with him on turning things around? Like, are they going to expect it to be in the playoffs next year and 10 plus wins, or are they going to give him a few years to get the guys he wants in there? But that being said, kind of like Vrabel, I think Ben Johnson's setting up his staff the right way too. Bringing some guys in, from Detroit with like Antoine Randall, who I think is his assistant head coach. So, kind of probably trying to build off of that Dan Campbell culture a little bit. Bringing in Dennis Allen, who, I mean, for whatever happened in Nolans, it was a hell of a D coordinator, and I think can certainly be more efficient than Matt Eberflus was, both in that regard and probably clock management too. But I mean, also a former head coach who can be there to bounce ideas off of or just give some guidance with that. And then the other guy he brought over was that Declan Doyle from the Broncos, who kind of been in that Sean Payton tree for a long time. I think he's kind of getting his first shot at being an OC, but I mean, putting a lot of great offensive minds around the young QB. So, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I think my ultimate grade, I didn't want to be too nice to him. So I gave him a B+, because I think it was the smart move to make and the right pairing. But, with the inexperience, I don't think I can call it like a surefire move to make.
Understood. I like the grades. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the Jets now. Let's talk about Aaron Glenn. I'm gonna throw that over to Mike Dub. How you feel about Aaron Glenn's hire with New York?
I love it. I love it for a few different reasons. Number one, New York is a team that it wasn't a talent issue. You know what I mean? And you look across the board, they had talent. They were a pretty solid team. They could never seem to get it together. They're a team that's going to be based off of getting those guys to respond. And I think that's the one thing that, not the one thing, but that's something that Aaron Glenn is very good at. He's a player's coach, ultimate player's coach. Guys love playing for him. Former player, played for the Jets. He's got some personalities in that locker room. Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson and Quentin Williams, and he's got some personalities. They're dogs, they're players, but they're also going to be guys that you have to be a guy in order to get them to respond. And the fact that he's an ex-player, the fact that he builds great relationship with his players, I think that's going to be where it starts. He's going to have those top guys willing to play for him. He's going to be able to respond to him. And then also how he deals with not just the New York media, but the expectations of, New York fans and just being in that spotlight. You've already seen how he's kind of been with the media in the first few days. Like, he's like, look, this is what it is. This is what it isn't going to be. This is what I want to answer. This is what I'm not going to answer. He's not intimidated by the bright lights. Like I said, he played there. He was successful there. And, he's a competitor. Everything that he did coming from, that Detroit culture was competitive. We just heard about Ben Johnson. Obviously, we know about Dan Campbell and everything that he's installed up there. They're guys that are blue collar. They like to compete. Another reason why I think Aaron Glenn is a good fit there is because he's a defensive guy. And I think the Jets, obviously, they're going to have to, tighten up some things personnel wise. But their bread and butter, to me, if you watch them play, is going to be playing defense, running the football.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. As much as they wanted to sell tickets, as much as they wanted to make the Aaron Rodgers and all those receivers work, who they are and what their identity is going to be to run the football and play defense. Aaron Glenn is going to come in. He's going to instill that blue collar mentality. Forget all the Hollywood stuff. Forget all the big name quarterback, all that stuff. That's not who the Jets are. The Jets have always traditionally been a defensive team, run the ball, gritty, grind it out. Aaron Glenn's going to bring that temperament to him. Obviously, he's going to have to bring some good coordinators in to balance them out and tighten up a few holes personnel wise. But overall, I give it an A grade. And the reason why I give it an A grade is because, number one, I think it's the best that the Jets could have done at this point. I really like Saleh. I don't think Saleh should have got fired in the first place, but that's a whole story for a whole nother time with the Rodgers situation and just how they dealt with the whole thing. Basically, threw the whole franchise direction away from one guy. But either way, this is the best move that they can make in the situation that they're in right now. The only thing that I'll be paying attention to is how he fills out his roster or how he fills out his coaching staff to kind of balance out what he is. He's a certain type of guy. He's going to have to get some coordinators and some assistant coaches to balance that out so they can get, maximum, progression out there, guys. But overall, I give it an A grade.
Okay. I like it. Actually, I was looking because he hired somebody for. I think he's looking to hire maybe Steve Wilkes as his DC.
I think I
So
saw
kind of doubling down on the defensive philosophy on that side. So he can kind of run that house on the side when he's doing head coaching duties. But to have two good defensive minds in the building, that tells me that defense is going to be right for sure. If nothing else, I definitely believe that's a move in the right direction. Now, as I always say, my golden rule has always been: if you've been watching me for any amount of time, if you're a defensive minded head coach, you got to hit a home run with your OC.
Absolutely.
Got to hit a home run with your OC. So I'll be looking with bated breath to see who he gets. Him being around, Ben Johnson for a little while, maybe some of that is rubbed off on him. And he understands what the modern, NFL offense looks like, and he'll be able to hire somebody of that ilk. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing who he gets as those. That's going to be the telling part about how good they're going to be in 2025.
Absolutely, and I hope the organization is patient with them, especially like I said, until they find their quarterback. You gotta just give him some time, let him build out the culture the way he wants to build it, and then go from there.
I like it. Okay, so let's move on to Leon Coleman for the Jaguars. It was a little bit of a late hire there. He kind of verbally agreed with Tampa Bay and turned around after he fired Balky, he decided to come back to the table. So, how do you feel about the Leon Coleman hire with Trevor Lawrence?
Similar to what AG said about Ben Johnson, I feel like it could be really good or it could be really bad. I don't think there's going to be a lot of in between there. Like they're either going to be a 4-win team or like a 12-win team. I feel like,
Wow.
and it's just
That's fair.
you know
That's
what I
the
mean.
fairest assessment ever.
You know what I mean? Like it's you don't really know, and it's kind of like that with the Jaguars anyway. You don't really know what you're getting with that franchise. But I will say what I do like is I feel like in a lot of ways the Jaguars are similar to the Bucks and their offensive makeup. I actually think that he's getting a better quarterback when healthy
That's a good point.
than Baker Mayfield.
That's a good point.
He has some guys at running back and Tank Bigsby, obviously Travis Etienne. They're going to have to do some things on that offensive line. But you can arguably say that, he's obviously he doesn't have a Hall of Famer yet. And, the two wide receivers that he had in Tampa Bay, but he's got some guys. We saw what those young boys did. Got some weapons in Ingram. So he has a similar personnel that I could see him working his magic with and, getting a good offense, getting things going out there. Defensively, obviously, there's going to be some questions. Once again, all comes down to your coordinators and who you get to balance out what you have there. But I think he has all the tools that he needs to go out and, really turn some heads, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have to stay healthy. They were battling injuries all the time. Obviously, that has nothing to do with the head coach. But the interesting thing is because he's a first-time, head coach, there's not a lot, that we know about him as far as culture, as far as, what type of temperament he's going to bring to the team. That's why I say it's kind of an unknown. Those are the things that, kind of determine the trajectory of the team. Yes, it's all about X's and O's and all those things like that. But more than anything, when you're the head guy and everybody in the building is turning to you, you have assistants that are going to work out the X's and O's and all those things like that. It's going to come down to how you run your building, how people respect you, how you respect, how you respond to them, how you respond to the media, how you respond to the owners, the GMs, all those different things like that. So that's going to be interesting to see how he handles these things. Is he a guy that gets flustered easily? Is he a guy that gets frustrated? Is he a guy that is all in? You really don't know yet. So that's what I'm going to be watching to see is how he kind of handles his players, how he handles his locker room, what type of culture he's trying to instill. Like I said, I don't really know too much about him from Tampa Bay other than what he was able to do with, the tools that he had. And he had the Bucks rolling. The Bucks look good. I like what they did with their run game and mix it up. So I think he could do a similar thing with the Jaguars, but kind of the X factor is going to be the temperament and the off the field things, how he handles that locker room. So I'm going to, stay right in the middle. I'm going to give him a B. And I'll say it's pending how he handles the locker room, pending how he handles some of his guys and also some of the coordinators they bring in.
Smart. Yeah, I agree that he has similar, it's not the stature of Mike Evans. I mean, you don't have a 6'5",
Brian Thomas, though.
That was great. Right? He don't have,
he's pretty good.
It's not.
He's pretty damn good. Yeah. Although man cannot say Duval, so he's.
Yeah, I was just about to say. No, I think you mentioned that he's going to a better quarterback. I really wouldn't be too sure about that. I don't think. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence has been very inconsistent to say the least.
Yeah.
At least Baker, he'll throw picks, obviously, but I feel like Baker just kind of gives that team like an identity, like a swagger that they kind of needed. 100%. And when Brady left, it left a void. Like, well, what are we going to do now? And I feel like Baker has handled that transition about as good as you can, given his journey in the NFL.
Shit, no kidding, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Bucs are very happy with where they're at with Baker. But I think for the Jags, it really is going to depend on what can he do with Trevor, because we're going to see very quickly, is Trevor really the guy that deserved the $250+ million?
Right.
And can Liam Cohen, fix him? Or are they just doomed and Liam Cohen, is going to get fired before he even really gets started?
Dude.
Well, that's a good argument because if he was able to quote unquote fix Baker, like people are giving him credit for, and he righted him and made him with the quarterback they thought he was going to be when they drafted him first, in the first round. Mm-hmm. I would argue that you have a more athletic and skilled, stronger arm.
He has a higher ceiling.
He had way higher ceiling than Baker does.
Yeah.
You know, so you would argue that if he can get it done with Baker, you should, in theory,
Right.
get it done with
In
Trevor
theory,
Lawrence,
yeah.
right? In theory, right? Air quotes, right?
I think it's doomed, man, just from the nature of how he got the job.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
Dude, the
Karma.
the Bucks made him the highest paid coordinator from the specific stipulation that he does not interview with the Jags any further. And then he ghosts them for a whole day. He says he's at the doctor with a sick kid. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to Jacksonville, actually.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's driving down to Jacksonville.
Karma's not good there. He's like, yeah, Liam, I got your location, bud. I can see you're in Jacksonville. Doctor, specialist.
Yeah, would you leave your main chick for your side chick?
Yeah.
Look, I agree.
Your main chick had your location on her phone, so she's like, "Where the hell are you
doing in Florida?" Right? What are you doing in Florida? Oh, nothing. I'm just looking at some houses.
just scooting around, dude.
Just window shopping.
In Jacksonville, Avari. It's not like he's in Miami.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's worse.
Right.
More inland.
Exactly. I got a retirement home.
Jacksonville. Oh yeah. That was a little bit of dirty backing on the part of Leon Cohen, but hey, we wish him the best.
That's why I agree. You know, that those handling situations like that, you know, people pay attention to that in the locker room.
They do.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they respond.
Yeah, I wonder when the Bucks play the Jags next. That'll be the good one. If it's anytime in this near future,
don't they usually? I feel like they usually like give that cut. I feel like they do that. But
yeah, I do.
Like preseason.
So that one free game you have, I got a feeling it's gonna be Jags Bucks in England.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Please put it on. Nobody wants to see
London.
That
yeah, put it at 8 a.m.
You're right.
Exactly. Turn that on in the morning. Nobody wants to see that at 4 o'clock.
Exactly. So we'll see how Leon Coleman does, but we he has the uphill climb in Jacksonville for sure. So moving on to the Raiders, and I gave this specifically to my guy. Welcome to the network. I wanted to get his take on how he feels about the divisional rival Raiders. Getting Pete Carroll as their next head coach. So, young RG, take it away. Please tell me how you feel about Pete Carroll going to the Raiders.
All right, so I'm just gonna go straight out with it with my grade. I give it just a solid C. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right?
Average.
I broke it down in terms of like, what are the pros, side of hiring him, your typical pros cons list. So obviously it's a Super Bowl winning head coach. I mean, that kind of experience is not readily available typically. Although Doug Peterson just got let go on, from Jacksonville we were just talking about. So, there is that, but I think what kind of separates Pete from that obviously is he's one of the 3 head coaches in history to win the national championship and the Super Bowl. Granted, those were both seems like decades ago and eons ago, but he did that and he is one of 3. So you can't take that away from him. I believe he's a upgrade over AP and that right that they got that right. You didn't want to go backwards in hiring a first-time head coach. So it was the safe hire, I guess you could say, which is also more so I gave them the C because they didn't really go for the big splash, but they also didn't underwhelm. Yeah, they didn't underwhelm their fan base by going after some no name. And this one just a pro kind of just for a little bit of fun. He has familiarity with with Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, from the time together in the NFC West and in college, when Pete was at USC,
it's not a good history.
No, it's not a good history. So, but it's there. He's got history. So I'm sure Raiders fans are happy about that. But now getting to why I personally didn't like this hire. I know a lot of Raider fans, were kind of like on the fence about it. Some liked it, some didn't. But I mean, he's known for one of the biggest blunders in NFL history that, I mean, realistically probably destroyed a could be or should have been dynasty. Like the Seahawks were built to absolutely just terrorize the league for like 4 years at least. That defense was one of the best we'd ever seen. And from one stupid play call on a goal line, you completely shifted the trajectory of that franchise, and Brady gets another ring. And I mean, just so many things happen that that shouldn't have happened based on that call. So having that over your head is tough to come back from. He is the oldest head coach now officially in the NFL at 73 years old. So, they say it's a young man's game. That feel like that somewhat also kind of applies in the coaching department. At some point, new innovation and new mindsets are needed. So, the age can definitely be something that hurts the Raiders if he, holds on to something that is kind of obsolete in today's era. And that kind of ties into my last thing is his best days, I believe, are behind him. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to really recapture that magic he had in Seattle. With that defense, with, a rookie or young Russ, with a beast mode, so I feel like there's just a lot of things that he doesn't have in Vegas that he did at his previous stops. So I just think, given the division, given the competition in the division, given the coaching competition in the division, not just the rosters. I mean, he's going to the worst team. Obviously, it was the only one with the opening, the only team in that division to not make the playoffs this year. I mean, like, there's just so much that he has going against him, and I don't want to say that this is a bad hire necessarily because of him, but it's also just because of where he's going and the situation that they're in right now. So it's tough. I gave him a C. I think it could have some positive implications, but I heard somewhere, and I feel bad not giving credit for this, but I heard somewhere that this feels like the hire before you bring in the guy to, fully rebuild a franchise, fully give him the reins to take over. It's like it's the era before the era, if that kind of makes sense. So Raiders fans, it's going to be a little tough. You might be in purgatory for like the next year or so. Ultimately, you're just hoping that Pete can instill some sort of culture into this team, give them some kind of identity, have it so they're not swept by two or by the three teams. And did they win a division game this last year?
Maybe not.
No, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think that, yeah. So I mean, like, it's just little things like that. Like,
did they win the last game of the season?
No, that was against us. They did not. That was QJ's legacy game, and we thought, he's poised for but I won't get into that.
Yeah.
But if they did, it had to have been to the Broncos. I don't think they didn't beat the Raiders. So either way, you're looking for somebody to give you some division wins to start off with, and then kind of see about building into maybe contending for the playoffs. But enough about that. We'll move on to
they got the swept by the whole division.
They got so 0-6 in the division. There you go. So yeah, I mean, it's rough.
Right where they belong.
it's rough to say the least. I love it as a Chargers fan, and Alex loves it as a Chiefs fan, and we love it. But speaking for the Raiders, it's a rough situation. And now getting into
speaking of rough situations.
Speaking of rough situations.
Let's get into some real choppy water here.
Coach Mike is going to be happy to hear about this one. So,
I'm ecstatic.
Here we got the Cowboys and Brian Schottenheimer, and Chargers fans recognize that last name, Schottenheimer. Yes,
we do.
It is the son of the late great Marty Schottenheimer, who of course coached the Chargers probably to some of their best seasons ever, and before ownership and general management screwed it up. But whatever, won't get into that. But
trauma. Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of trauma there, a lot of scars. But once again, starting off, you got coach is gonna Mike is gonna love this. I give it a D-. I give it a D-, nice. Grade higher, and and I was gonna say the only reason, there's a little bit of a personal reason why I didn't give it a straight up F, was because it is Marty Schottenheimer's son.
Okay.
And I have that little bit of respect. That small bit of respect for him.
Right.
But I mean, my pros list is too long. It's hiring from within. He has some familiarity with Dak. That's I guess something that you can at least take with you. And my other one is he's the son of the late great Marty Schottenheimer. So that's all I got. Cowboy fans, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry. That's all I got for you.
Right.
Now you get into
as a Commander fan, I give it an A.
Yeah, I'm sure every NFC East team give it an A.
Yeah. The Giants are clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we don't got the worst head coach anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
that's like hiring from within an unsuccessful coaching regime.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
and then you got Jerry announcing it where he gives some spiel about like how hard it is to find a coach.
Go back though. How about when he announced it? It was on like a Friday night at like 10 o'clock. Like he just slip this text to Schefter, let him tweet this out at 10 o'clock on a Friday when nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, no one cares.
And Jerry does everything. Like he signed Dak. What was it, like the Sunday or whatever it was before the season started? Like he does everything purposefully. He did not give a shit about them hiring Brian Schottenheimer. He's like, yeah,
no.
Go ahead, yeah. But like, oh yeah,
we like Steven. Cool. What name am I telling this Schefter guy? Oh, Schottenheimer. All right,
spell it.
Yeah, who's that?
Schottenheimer, you said? What?
Right.
Yeah,
2 T's or 3 O's.
It's just a dumpster fire there.
No, yeah. I mean, and this is getting into my cons. I mean, this is a typical Jerry Jones hire. He will be a puppet. He will be someone that he just props up while Jerry really runs things, and Jerry's telling him how and when to do things, you know, when and how to bark. I mean, this is what we've seen from the last couple of head coaches. I mean, like, no. I mean, this is what we've seen. Like, Jerry Jones has just treated like all these head coaches like pets. Like, just, yeah, you know, you're a cute my little lap dog. I'll put you up in front of the camera, you know. But we all know that I'm the one calling the shots. I'm the one doing everything. I'm drafting these players. You really have no real say. And I actually give high credit to Mike McCarthy for having enough respect. Yeah, having enough respect for himself to be like, nah, dude. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm out. I'll take my luck elsewhere. And, you know, I also mentioned that, you know, Brian's ceiling is his potential ceiling is significantly lower than what Mike McCarthy's was. You know, at least Mike McCarthy was giving you those 12-win seasons, keeping you relevant in the regular season. You know, I mean, like, you're not going to get that anymore. The Commanders, I mean, they look like they might have the best quarterback in the division. The Eagles are going to be the Eagles with Barkley in that rushing attack. Yeah, the Giants are, you know, whatever, but eventually you would like to think that they'll get something right and they'll, you know, be able to put up a fight against these Cowboys. But it's no longer the case where it's just the Eagles and the Cowboys fighting for it, and, you know, whoever wins, that'll be the team that gets the home playoff game. No, the Commanders are right there. The Giants are, you know, they want to compete. I think Daboll's a great head coach, but, you know, we'll see what happens with that situation. I just think until Jerry gets rid of that delusion that he can solely be the reason that this franchise can turn back to their winning ways, it's never going to happen. They're going to continue to be mediocre at best. And, you know, this is just music to Mike's ears. But, I mean, this is the reality. And I love it because Cowboys fans are obnoxious as hell. They're the Raiders fans of the NFC. So I love it. This is a great. You gave me the two best coaching hires because they're both, in my opinion, awful.
You're welcome. Not a problem, my guy. Not a problem. But yes, I definitely agree. It's definitely uphill climb for the Cowboys for the next few years for sure. Yeah, I don't like it at all. In what they're doing. But like you said, it's getting to the point where they almost need to have a rule in the NFL. Like when you get a certain age, you need to hand off the day-to-day to somebody else, because Jerry he's past it at this point. Like, you know, it just, you know, taking enough happy pills throughout the day, he just gets crazy. So I don't know, but it's a bad omen for the Cowboys. But I will say this: the good bad thing about it is the Cowboy fans have started to come to grips with the idea that they're in for it. You know, because the Raider fans, they're just obnoxious. You know, in their own, you know, world that they live in. They don't live in, you know, normal world, but they live in a different dimension, a different metaphor.
No, they live in the 70s and the 80s. That's where they're living.
So there's something else. But the Cowboy fans have been a little bit humble the last couple of years if you've been paying attention. So
that's true.
For sure. So yeah, we'll see how things go with that. But yeah, I don't like the hire at all. But speaking of, you know, hires or the situation that's going to be an uphill climb, the Saints don't have a head coach yet. They're the last team to fill their vacancy. I would argue that they might be waiting for Kellen Moore to get done his tenure with the Eagles, and they're likely going to hire him. They had Mike McCarthy in the pipeline as well, but I think there's some issues with language in the contract and the amount of, you know, things they were willing to give or not give from a Saints perspective to Mike McCarthy. So he's kind of in a holding pattern, and depending on what Kellen Moore asks for and what his, you know, demands will be, I guess they'll go with the idea of who wants the least amount of control, personnel-wise, decision-making power, and things of that nature. But I do believe those two are the leading candidates for that job. But regardless who gets it, they got a big-time uphill climb. This has been a MO for this team for the past 8 or 9 years. They've been in cap hell every single season. Yeah. They're literally at this moment $57 million over the cap.
Oh my God! Dude.
Over the cap. So you have to clear that before the league year starts, before even to be eligible to do anything. So that's an uphill climb within itself. So that's a job that, just from a perspective that you got questions about your quarterback, you don't have a number one receiver, O-line's getting a little shaky, Alvin Kamara seems to be unhappy, defense is getting older, this might be a full rebuild if you're looking at it from a big picture perspective. So I would say
I'm wondering, like, who are they paying? Like, where did all the cap money go? Because it's not like they have like
so
Derek Carr. I mean,
Derek Carr, Cam Jordan,
Taysom Hill,
Matthew, Tyrann Matthew,
Kamara, Ramczyk, Ruiz.
He's probably still paying Mike Thomas. No.
Probably.
They are. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They have $9 million in dead money. And
Yeah.
Martin was $31 million in dead money. So yes. So yeah, they got a lot to going on. They're
going to be a fire sale in New Orleans after the Super Bowl.
As soon as the coach gets in place, they're going to start selling all product real fast, I believe. So yes, indeed. What's up, DZ?
They have their GM. They have their GM in place too, or are they looking for that?
I think they still have their GM, right?
I think they still have the GM. I think nobody poached him from for another job. So yeah, but still. I mean,
given that roster situation, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
we're talking miracle worker here. So yeah, I think Kellen Moore end up getting the job because he's younger and probably will ask for less because this would be a first time head coaching, tour for him. But yeah, I think that's going to be uphill climb. The Saints are going to be in full rebuild mode. I think they might just strip it down to the bare minimum and just start over. And
it's going to be a long rebuild for Saints fans. It's going to be a brutal one.
I agree. So yeah, we'll see how things go. But all right, so moving on with the show. So let's talk about the NFL playoffs. We got two gentlemen over here that had games over the weekend. Myself and Robert are we're sitting Ali by just being fans.
Yeah.
So real quick, before we talk about the Super Bowl itself, let's get a quick reaction from our resident insiders here. I'm going to let Mike Dub go first this time. Just not to give Alex all the shine on the show, but give us between the two of you guys real quick. Give us your synopsis of the conference title game, and what was your takeaways from both matchups. So let's start with Mike Dub.
I mean, it's pretty simple, and if you watch the game, leading up to the game, I gave some kind of tips and I guess keys to victory, and we did everything that we were not supposed to do in order to win the game. Like literally, whatever the keys to victory were, we took that and we gave those keys to Philadelphia. I talked about turnovers. I said we had to force turnovers. We had to get turnovers. Philly didn't turn the ball over at all, and we turned the ball over 4 times. And I think it's 4. And not only did we turn the ball over 4 times, they scored 4 touchdowns off of those turnovers. Yes. Every time they got a turnover, they scored a touchdown. We didn't stop them many times. I said anybody but Saquon. Saquon was the first guy to beat us. I mean, literally everything that we had to do. Literally, oh my God, it was a disaster. And even that being said, we still put up 28 points. The offense still played decent. We still gave ourselves a chance had we not turned the ball over 4 times. Like I said, if you take off those 4 scores that took the ball out of our hands and gave them 4 more scores, then it's a completely different. And I know that's the coach in me talking. Most people are looking, we gave up 55 points. Like, shut up, you lost. But you know what I mean? The coach in you is always like, but if we just would have had, you know what I mean? So
understood.
Yeah. But long story short, it's disappointing in how it happened. Because they flat out beat us. Philadelphia is a great team. They're positioned to be here. They were just in the Super Bowl a year ago. People forget about it. That roster. And then after that, they had an amazing, offseason last year, had an amazing draft this year. So they're positioned to be where they are. I felt like, had we executed better than it, we would have gave ourselves a better chance. It was disappointing in how it ended. But overall, the season was a success. We got something to look forward to.
Yeah,
Obviously,
definitely a success.
yeah, I'd say so. Definitely something to look forward to, but it's always difficult how it ends, especially to a divisional opponent, and especially when it's things that you can help yourself. You can not turn the ball over at the very least. You know what I mean? So, but shout out to the Eagles, they did their thing. So I know AG probably got some things to say about the matchup, so I'll pass it over to him.
Okay, anybody got any questions for him before we move on to Alex?
I don't got so much a question, just like, I mean, you already said it. The outlook on this team, the future is insanely bright, and I think the biggest thing to take away from this is it'd be one thing if Jaden went in there and threw 3 picks, fumbled, whatever it was, but it was the fact that it was like the lesser tier guys, Nichols, Eckler, Brown, these guys fumbling like that hurts you as a Commanders fan, because it's like the guys that haven't really been doing much else. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but like you already said it. The future's insanely bright, and I said it earlier. Y'all very well might have the best quarterback in that division already as a rookie.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's the others. What Shaq likes to call, the others. You got your superstar players, and then you got the other guys that kind of make up the core of the team. And it was almost like they were trying to do too much, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not protecting the ball, not just little things that's day one stuff. And like I said, hats off to Philadelphia. They forced the fumbles and they did their thing. But for Jaden to play, Jaden played pretty well. We did what Terry did his thing. Ertz had a great game. Like you said, the guys who we expected to go out and ball, they went out and balled as best they could. But the others just fell by the wayside. So ultimately, Philly was the best team from top to bottom. And yeah, it's a tough loss, but we'll rebound.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they did anything to help Jaden in that game. I think if they had given him more opportunities to go against the offense, to combat that offense, I think he would have. And of course, nothing else. You got to keep the offense on the field a little bit. You got to play complimentary football. Leave the offense on the field and keep their offense off, and you won't have to worry about stopping them as much. Limiting those possessions will definitely have helped them as well. So yeah, I agree with everybody saying that his future is definitely bright for them, and y'all would definitely be back. And I think this might be the worst version you're going to see of this team going forward.
Yep.
So I got good draft picks. I got multiple draft picks, many of them in the draft, and y'all got good cap space. So I think this is just the genesis of what's going to be the Jaden Daniels era. So I like it.
Yeah, this offseason is going to be huge for us. This is the year for us to make the jump because, like I said, we still got the Jaden on a rookie contract, so we're going to have to make some moves. We got our picks, we got some cap room. This is going to have to be a major, year for us because people believe now, so can't go backwards.
Agreed.
Expectations now.
Yeah, you got a little bit of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get flashbacks on that Eckler fumble, Coach?
Yeah, but not
I know I did.
Right. I was like, well, that's who he is. That's who he is. That's who he is. So yeah, but absolutely, definitely, the Twitter was all the enraged about how that's the Austin Eckler we know and love.
Yeah.
Fumbling the moments, but hopefully he'll bounce back and be better for y'all next year.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully he's getting up there. So he is.
Yeah. All right, so let's hand it over to the real AG. Let's talk about these Chiefs.
Yes, sir.
Give us your breakdown of the game and how you felt about. Of course, you feel good about it, but tell me how you
about it, man.
What was your takeaways from the game and how you feel about going forward.
Well, yeah, let me just start by saying that was probably going to be the best football game of the year. I mean, probably better than the Super Bowl is going to be. It just that was down to the wire. It went how I thought it would go in the very back and forth, title bout fight with kind of everyone hitting their combos at different times.
Right.
But I like ultimately, I mean, the key I talked about in my little preview, that it came down to who could get more 3 and outs. That was the prominent thing, and Casey's defense was able to do that. Maybe not always 3 and out, sometimes 4 and out, but they were able to stall the Buffalo offense at the right time, or just come up big in huge moments. I mean, there was 2 different 4th downs. Twice they went for 2-point conversions. And all of those situations, the defense stepped up big. You can bitch and moan all you want about the tush push. Was he across the line or not? But end of the day, defense made the stop, and that was the call. So, just like that's what it was. I mentioned the third down stops and kind of the chess game that Spags would play with Joe Brady and the offense, and he sure as hell did that. Just like a maniac, dialing up blitzes at really crazy times that just came in the clutch. Obviously the last play of the game for Buffalo, in a sense. I mean, huge blitz, huge call, just ballsy move, and totally panned out. Yeah, okay. It wasn't Richie, but fair enough. And again, like you said, Coach, at times, the Chiefs always just seem to have that allure that causes teams to like think they got to do one thing extra, and then it bites them in the ass at the end. Like Buffalo did not need to go for 2 different 2-point conversions, and honestly, if they would have just kicked the damn ball, it might have gone to overtime just from that alone. I mean, you don't even know what happens, but instead they think they got to go for 2, and try to do these tush pushes or QB sneaks that the Chiefs just know are coming and stuff it, and then then they're 2 points in the hole when they could have just been up at some or tie the game or whatever. So
you're exactly right, Alex. Because the game would have been tied, because if they didn't kick 2 field goals, y'all wouldn't have to go for 2 to tie the game up. When you guys scored your last touchdown, and you're looking at a tie game, and then they get 1 possession apiece to quote unquote win the game. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It would have been that way.
Yeah. So I mean, it people are gonna kind of forget about that, but it's the same thing with like Houston or other games. Like there's always some mental mistake or error that the other team does that leaves points off the board, and that kind of gets forgotten at the end of the game for whatever reason. But other than that, like it was a pretty even game in terms of both teams offensively. Like Chiefs offense has definitely shown up more in the postseason than it has in the regular season. And it's crazy that they scored only 2 points over, but this is the first time all year they scored over 30 points. And just like, I mean, that's just what Mahomes does in the playoffs. He makes the plays when they need to be made, and he just continuously does it. And it's pretty ridiculous. Like I heard a stat the other day that he's like 7 or 8 for 8 in postseason situations, or maybe not postseason, but just game situations where he gets the ball down 7 points with under 2 minutes left, and he's literally 100% in getting the go ahead score. So I mean, he's literally just Captain Clutch.
Yeah, and like the two games he lost were the AFC Championship game in OT to Brady, and the AFC Championship game to the Bengals.
Yeah,
those are the only 2.
And the other crazy thing, speaking of stats, or LeBron stats, if you will, but the Chiefs had a turnover in this game. Buffalo did not turn the ball over, and they are they are one of 2 teams, or no, they are the only team that has lost a game with no turnovers, scoring 4 touchdowns. Both times have been to the Chiefs in this game.
Well, in coaching speak, we call turnover on downs a turnover. If you don't,
I mean, absolutely.
That counts in our book. I definitely agree. They didn't throw a pick or have an interception in their favor. Although Josh Allen in that first drive and that last drive threw a couple up for grabs, they just happened to not get
tried.
It.
Yeah, and again, like, I mean, there were times that the Bills were just like they committed to the run, coming both before the half and coming out of the half, and then tried to go for it on the 4th and 1 and put themselves in a corner and then got out of it. But there were times when they were committed to the run game that I was like, we can't stop them. Like they're gonna just do this up and down the field. It's gonna be up to Pat to have to score in 20 seconds just to get things going. But again, like they just always, maybe the coaching errors or whatever, but seem to make those decisions where the defense came up big or just a mental error. But I mean, overall, like hell of a game across the board, but continue to see Mahomes and the Chiefs do what they do and come up clutch in late game situations. Pretty cool game for Xavier Worthy to, I mean, make his presence known, score a touchdown, get a big catch or whatever, if you want to call it, down, near the red zone. And the crazier thing too is Buffalo traded that pick to Kansas City to get Worthy. So,
no, we're gonna go back. Y'all have traded with the Bills on 3 separate occasions and got impact players. Mahomes, I believe Karlaftis and Worthy.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing is they jumped in front of Buffalo 2 years ago to get McDuffie when that's who Buffalo wanted, and they took Kamar Elam, who was
this game.
who had to go out once Benford went out, and you saw why he's not playing as a first round pick.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it cool, like huge moments from for Worthy. It's cool to see Kareem kind of get his redemption arc back to the Super Bowl. And like opening game, cap off the methodical drive with a touchdown. But that being said, this upcoming game's certainly going to be just as hard, if not harder. So it's the job's not done, but we gotta enjoy it right now, and just bask in the craziness that they are actually going back, first team ever with the actual chance of completing the three-peat, when the season went as it went, is crazy in and of itself. Right. But yeah, I mean, a great time to be a Chiefs fan. That's all I can say to cap it off.
I understand. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick round of room about the Super Bowl itself, because I'm sure we're going to cover it next week, because we got 2 weeks before the Super Bowl actually occurs. So, starting with Alex, give me a quick hot take or a quick, I guess overarching thought about the Super Bowl as the matchup is concerning right now.
Yeah, man. We got the run it back, the post Kelsey Bowl, I guess we'll call it that for Philly. But like I said, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a hard matchup. Saquon obviously has been doing ungodly things, and Chiefs have been able to stop the run. But like I said, if the Bills committed to that more, it might have been a totally different game. And that's what Philly's going to do. So that's definitely the biggest matchup or X factor for the Chiefs game. But I think that the Chiefs become the first team to three-peat, and I'm going to be gloating about it all summer long.
Okay. All right. All right, Mike. What you got? What is your initial thoughts about the Super Bowl?
I like the matchup. I think Philadelphia is one of the few teams that actually probably match up as well as can be with Kansas City. We mentioned before, they're going to have to, run the ball, control the clock. Best way I see to beat Mahomes is to keep him off the field.
Absolutely.
So, if anybody has the ability to do that, it's the Eagles. I mean, that offensive line is massive. And they just wear people down in the trenches. And then they're deep at defensive back, all the guys they brought in. So that's good for the weapons that KC has. My one concern is Philly has to get healthy. If you watch the Washington game closely, they didn't have to do too much on offense when you give them the ball on their side of the 54 times. But if you watch closely, they were dealing with some with staying healthy. Saquon's trying to stay warm on the sidelines. Obviously hurts. There was questions about his knee. He ended up looking pretty good, but they need this 2 weeks more than anything else. If they're coming to the game healthy, then I like how they match up with them. And I also think that they have enough confidence that, similar to what AG said, I think a lot of teams fall victim to trying to do too much, because of the aura and everything like that. Philly's faced them before. They lost by 3 points in the Super Bowl last year. I think they're confident enough that they're not going to be in awe of the big game and the stage and of the team that they're playing. I think they think that they can beat these guys, which is half the battle. So I like the matchup. If I'm a betting man, I'm guessing the Eagles are underdog by not a lot, probably by a few
point and a half.
Yeah, point and a half, something like that. I like the Eagles' chances. I really do. I like the matchup.
All right, Robert, what you got?
But yeah, I'm kind of in agreement here with Coach Mike. I feel like the Eagles, like you said, one of the few teams. Yeah. No, realistically, I do feel like the Eagles are probably one of the only few teams that can match up well against the Chiefs. Mike Carter have already outlined it. The trenches that they have, that O-line, that D-line is elite. Those DBs that they have, that unit got completely turned around this year by Vic Fangio from what it was last year. Because last year the Eagles' pass defense was atrocious, and I mean, Mike will tell you it was bad. And this year they completely flipped the switch. Vic Fangio gets a ton of credit for that. And I think realistically, and this can be said about any game, especially in the playoffs, but this is can the Eagles continue to turn the ball over at the rate that they've been able to in these playoffs and throughout the season? I mean, they led the league in turnovers this year. Like Mike said, had 4 last week against them. They had, was it 3 or 4 against the Rams? I mean, like, and I mean, and their fumbles, these aren't even picks. Like this is what's scary about it, is like Mahomes could play a perfect game. And if the Eagles are punching these balls out of Rice, out of all these guys' hands, Pirine,
Rice on the IR.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, not Worthy. Sorry, my bad. Worthy, Hunt, all the running backs, like that can absolutely dictate this game, and it could be something that is completely out of Mahomes' hands, and so that is, I feel like, why I give the Eagles a really good chance, but. I mean, the thing with the Chiefs, and I hate to admit it, and it's so tough, if they play perfect, and for the most part they really do, you can't beat them. I mean, we saw the Bills have the lead with 13 seconds left. I don't think people fail to realize that. 13 seconds, no timeouts. And
that's a dub against anybody but the Chiefs.
That's a wrap. You can walk away from your TV and you're like, cool, I'm good.
Right.
Like, there's not even a Hail Mary. Like, there's just... It truly is with the Chiefs. It's not over till it's over. So I feel like the Eagles know this. They've already lost. Hurts has already lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl once before. A lot of those guys were there. They're hungry. They want revenge. And I mean, this is, if there's any place to get revenge for a lost Super Bowl, it's back in the Super Bowl. So
that's facts.
I feel like they're going to play hard. And like Coach said, I'm taking that 1.5 with the Eagles.
Okay, well, for me, I think that I'm a nuanced guy, so I think that the injuries to the Landon Dickerson and Cam Jerkin is telling. I think that depending on how hurt they are or aren't, or how well they recover in these next 2 weeks will be the determining factor. Because if they're healthy and right, it could be a long day for the Chiefs' defensive front. Because again, the offensive line is the best in the league. I mean, we bar none. We can't even quantify it against anybody else outside the Lions. But I believe that O-line against that D-line, that's an advantage to the Eagles, right? And Saquon is the ultimate X factor. I mean, clearly, the Lions had Jahmyr Gibbs and those guys, but nobody has Saquon Barkley but the Eagles. He's one of a kind. So I think that if the O-line is healthy and whole and they can get the run game going, they can control that clock and cut the game down, I think it favors the Eagles. But it all hinges on what your center and your left guard have going injury-wise. Because Landon Dickerson did not look good with that knee. Cam Jerkins didn't even play until Landon got hurt and was forced into the game. So if they are more hurt than healthy going into the Super Bowl, then it's advantage Chiefs. So it really just comes down to how healthy the Eagles will be in 2 weeks will determine whether or not they will be highly competitive or will Chiefs control the game.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing I can say, that 30 for 30, the Bills Chiefs is going to be fire.
Right. The Bills need to get one, or they're going to look like the Jim Kelly Bills in a minute.
They're already kind of looking like them.
My buddy was like, "It's just got at some point, it's got to be Josh Allen's time." And I was like, "Well, think about how many people during the Jordan era you probably said that about."
Right.
Sometimes it's never your time.
Never got a ring. Like you literally had to have Jordan retire or go play baseball to get a ring. So yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I know you said he doesn't want to be the next Jim Kelly. He very well already might be. He's 0-4 against Mahomes, man. No QB has lost to another team and quarterback more than he has.
Right, unfortunately.
Just one more thing. I think the other thing to watch from the Chiefs' perspective will be, do they move Joe Thuney back into left guard and start someone at left tackle or not? Well, I only say that, Robert, because someone inside the Eagles D-line, Jalen Carter, can straight just murder people. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that.
No, that's straight reference.
Straight, assault people. Manhandle. Yeah, offensive lineman.
Slaughter people. Absolutely.
That was Twitter talking there. But Joe Thuney gave up no sacks in the Bills game at left tackle, but certainly a taller task because I have high praise for Jalen Carter.
He's a beast.
I mean, he's
I
a
will say this
one-of-a-kind
though,
D
it's going to be more
man.
Trey Smith's problem than Tooney if he does play guard because he lines up on Trey Smith's side, not Tooney's side.
Yeah, but you never. It's like always good if you got to have to slide the center that way or something to have Stallworth at left guard to just know. So I mean that'll be something to watch how they approach that going to the game. But we got 2 weeks to figure it out. So
understood. Okay. All right. So as the show it dictates, this is the NFL offseason blitz. Let's talk a little bit about offseason before we get out of here. Let's talk about free agency real quick. We get a quick jump start on the process before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the what's going to happen in the NFL free agency period for 2025. So real quickly go around the room. Give me you guys' biggest name that you feel like in free agency that you're watching, and where you think he lands. Not selfishly. Realistically, let's talk about, I know we all want to see to be Chargers and Chiefs and Commanders, but, realistically, who you're watching, where you think these guys will land? Let's start with Coach Mike Dub.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna take Javon Holland from Miami. He's a guy that really came on these last 2 years, big guy down at safety. Done a lot for them in their secondary. And I mean, I know you say you didn't want us to be selfish or anything like that, and I honestly think that he can land with Washington.
Okay.
I think it's a good move for both parties.
You do need help in that safety room, that's for sure.
Definitely need help in the safety room. Definitely need help on that defensive side. I think he's a good fit for it. I love his game. Young, I think he's only like 25 or something like that. And I just Miami doesn't have the money, so if they did, I think they would have kept him. But I think he's going to be one that comes in and makes an impact for a team immediately.
Okay, all right, Robert, who you got?
Well, sort of similar to Mike Dub, I'm not trying to be selfish towards my own team, but I legitimately, I do think if the team lets him walk, and it's a very big if, there is a legitimate shot the Chargers sign him, and that is the Chiefs guard. You just mentioned him, Alex, Trey Smith. He's going to be looking up, and there it is. Bonus to go. Yeah. So I mean, he just makes so much sense. The Chargers need interior help on the O-line desperately.
Needed.
Desperately.
That is the number one priority right now.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's just, and we already know Harbaugh is all about building the trenches, all about protecting Herbert. So him splashing big money in free agency on a guard is right on course with what he is known for and what he's about. The Chargers have the draft capital, the cap space to sign him to a hefty extension if that were to be the case. And he's a 6th round pick. So, and me and Alex, we were talking a little bit kind of before the in the pre-show. The Chiefs are going to have a lot. What was it, 28, Alex? 28 free agents this year?
Yeah, it's 28, 25, somewhere
20,
in there.
Yeah, so, I mean, 25 plus free agents.
28.
28 free agents. That is ridiculous. Now, I say all this. Trey Smith 1,000% should be their priority. And I don't see a situation in which they let him walk. You're not going to just let one of the more important pieces, the piece that protects Mahomes, walk, and especially have that chance to walk to a division rival that desperately could use him. So I do
all over again, right?
1,000%. It is the same 100%. And don't tell Harbaugh, he considers these O linemen skill position players. So to him, if Trey Smith were to walk, this would be like the number. It wouldn't even faze me that we overpay for him, and it would be a good overpay.
Right. Okay.
So I do think this is something that we could see. Obviously, every Charger fan wants T. Higgins, but so does every other team that needs a wide receiver. So
it's gonna be a bidding war. He's gonna get the bag. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, who you got?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna put it out there that I thought we were supposed to pick a free agent for our team. So. That's where
clearly that's the theme at this point. So
I'm just same flavor, different approach, I guess. But so that's where my perspective came from. Obviously, I guess from a league-wide thing, I think the big one outside of the ones already mentioned that am curious to see where he goes is Chris Godwin. just because I think he's still kind of on the cut. He's on the cusp where he could still get big money, and he's certainly, has that. I mean, he's 27, so or 28, but
Off an injury though.
he'll be like that 1B signing, I think, to T. Higgins. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes and for how much. But in terms of the assignment itself, I think just looking at the free agency pool, the one I noted, and it also is kind of, and then depends on who else the Chiefs bring back, restructure, or just part ways with. But I think they do need to try to improve at left tackle, obviously. And the biggest, I think, free agent grab this offseason would be Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore. And that's only, he's 30, so he's not, it wouldn't be a long-term thing. But they also, they drafted some young guys at left tackle. So I don't know that, a long-term thing is something they need, but a quality veteran that has hopefully a few good years left, I think is the perfect kind of target, for the anticipated cap situation they'll be in to try to bring in and bolster the offensive line. So yeah, that's why I noted Ronnie Stanley are kind of similar flavor, although definitely older. Tyrone Smith would be kind of the same approach, but you have to obviously know that he's going to not play at least 6 games.
You're right. Yeah, you know that going in.
Yeah,
going in. Okay. Yeah, I actually, my pick was more league wide because I'm curious about this. I was looking at Sam Darnold. I'm curious about what he does because I have been on the train that he should not leave Minnesota. I think that he is where he is and how he's insulated with that O-line, the weapons, the play caller. I think that he is in a very good position to let him flourish and be the quarterback that he can be. I think he maximizes the potential there. I understand they have J.J. McCarthy and they drafted him in the first round, so you kind of in a business decision mode and what you do with either quarterback. But if looking at it from perspective, people kind of comment on JJ's weight and how his rehab is going and things of that nature. So, he hadn't had a full season. He had a preseason and got hurt, so he hadn't been in pads at all since August of last year. So maybe you bring him back for 1 year if I'm Minnesota, just to allow JJ the time to truly develop and give him that 1 year at least of learning on the job, and then you hand the reins off to him after that. But outside of him going to somewhere like the Niners or staying with Minnesota,
maybe.
No. Just
Raiders going to give him all the money. I'm calling it right now. They're going to give him $80 million.
But if he knows what I know, that's not a good place to be.
No, I know, but it's not good for the Raiders either. That's why I'm trying to manifest it.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. But yes, I think that for his own benefit, his own edification, I think he should stay in Minnesota. Or if they don't decide to play Brock Purdy, they want to move on from Brock Purdy, call up Shanahan and say, hey, I'm available. And I'm not going to be a top tier, $50 million quarterback either based upon my history. So they can probably get it a little bit. Probably the deal they want to play Brock Purdy, they can give the Darnold and he'll take it. Brock Purdy might want more than what he's earned at this moment. So you got to look at that from that perspective. And he'll have a dominant running game to help keep him from making keep him and save him from himself and make the mistakes he made down the stretch in Minnesota that cost him the playoffs. So yeah, I think Sam Darnold will be the one have my eye on. That's not the the prototypical I want him on my team kind of guy. But I had to speak on it. I'm looking at Josh Myers and Javonte Williams because I want them on the Chargers as free agents. I need a center. The Packers develop O-lineman like nobody's business. He was Corey Linsley's replacement. I love the fact that we can potentially get him in free agency and solidify a center spot yet again from the Packers. Thank you again if we get that. And looking at Javonte Williams is another running back to go along with JK. We bring JK back. So I think JK and Javonte being in that backfield with that O-line, I think we'd be good to go.
Oh, you don't want Gus Edwards back?
Hell no. He's on a contract, but I would trade him. I did a whole video on it.
Trade out, man. If we could trade him, I would trade him in a heartbeat. You think someone's gonna send us a pick for him?
Listen, I would trade him for a 2 bag of Skittles and an Uber ride. So yeah.
Oh man.
He can go. Trade him, give me cash considerations like you do in the NBA. I don't even need no draft capital. I don't need it. Send him on his merry way. But yes.
That's funny.
Yes, indeed. Okay. All right, our final topic of the day. Let's talk about college prospects. So, the Shrine Bowl is going down in the Wells Senior Bowl this weekend. They're doing workouts and things of that nature. So let's get an early jump on the college prospects. We talked about free agents already. Who's going to make the biggest impact? We did that already. So let's talk about the NFL draft and who's going to be the biggest impact. So going around the room, give me one guy that you feel like that's going to have your eye in 2025, and he can be the next breakout star for you. So with this one, let's start with Robert.
So shocker, I'm picking a Michigan guy.
Okay,
I know who saw it coming. It's going to be Colson Loveland. I mean, it just makes so much sense from where the Chargers are picking this year. They're picking at 22. Man, it feels weird to say because I can't remember the last time we were in the playoffs. Was it 2018? Yeah, 2018. Or no.
No, you guys lost.
Yeah. Listen, I'm trying to erase that year from history.
I'll
just say 2018. But yeah, so being kind of farther back in the first round this year, we're not going to be able to get some of the higher elite talent. But I think Colson Loveland is somebody that can make an instant impact on this team from day one. We need a pass-catching tight end desperately. Dissely was brought over this past offseason to be a blocking tight end, and he ended up having career highs in catches and yards because he was the only receiver we had at tight end. So we need somebody else in that room. I like Stone Smart. Well, I mean, he was the guy that led it. as sad as it is. And he was, like I said, he was not brought here to do that. He was brought here to block and help address the O-line and be that extra O-lineman. So I don't see him recouping that same role next year. I think we're looking for someone to take the load off Herbert to be a little bit more of a security blanket because we saw it all last year. It was just Herbert and Ladd, and that was pretty much it. So to have somebody that is a little bit more consistent, somebody that can get open, separation is a huge thing that we're lacking on this team.
Amen.
And to have a tight end that can move the way he does and get in and out of breaks the way he does, I mean, that's a tight end that can move like that is a quarterback's best friend. Just ask Travis Kelce. And I'm not in no way comparing him to Travis Kelce, but in the sense of having that security blanket, having that reliability of, okay, I know my guy's here. Let me get it to him. So huge, like I said, already familiarity with Harbaugh. So it just makes sense. It's all the right pieces fit into it. We have a need for it. It's in a position that we can draft him without having to move up or down and risk losing more draft compensation to move up or down. So yeah, I really like him going to us here at 22.
Okay. All right. Mike Dub, who you got?
I love Will Campbell. I think he might be my favorite guy in the whole draft. Will he be available when the Commanders pick? No. But
you can dream.
Right. I can dream, but I think he might be one of my favorite prospects throughout the whole draft. Obviously it's early on, but based off of his film, based off of how he looked against, other top prospects, he's been against some pretty good edge rushers. And he's, really held his own, really done his thing. He's a leader in the locker room. You can hear his interviews, and he sounds like a 10 or 12-year NFL vet already, just his perspective on how he thinks about things. And I think that's what you look for in, obviously, an anchor at the tackle position. And I think there's a lot of good teams that are picking pretty early that could, use him. You look at, a team like the Patriots or a team like the Browns and things like that, where he can come in and make an immediate impact. He could be an anchor for a team for a long time. And I think he even has versatility, across the line. So I think we're seeing that more now than we've seen in the past with guys that can play interior, exterior, shuffling around, a lot of different guys on the offensive line. And he's one of those people that could do that. So I just love his overall game. I love how he looked, with the film, Eye in the Sky Don't Lie. So, I'm not one that goes too big off of, combines and all those things like that, especially for, linemen. There's certain things that you want to look for, of course, but ultimately his film and how he looks against other guys that he's going to see on the next level stands out big. And I just love what he brings to to that side of the ball and to the offensive line room. So I'm going to be looking at him to make an immediate impact. You know what I mean? I was right on my last Rookie of the Year prediction with Jaden. I said he was going to be the most impactful rookie and the best rookie out of the class. I'm not going to make one. Yeah, I'm not going to make one yet about Will Campbell, but he's one that I have my eye on early.
Okay. Yeah. What you got, Alex?
Yeah, so I think just to address the elephant in the room with the draft, I'm very intrigued to see who takes Travis Hunter and how they plan to use him.
Yeah.
Just how high he goes and how they're plan to use his skill set, to justify I think a pick that high. But that's just my perspective on it. But in terms of the Chiefs, they'll be picking either 31 or 32 again.
Oh,
And then,
I had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Of course,
and so it'll be kind of obviously looking at later guys, or guys that might be fall candidates that they could move up for because they have been known to do that. But I think ultimately they either got to address a tackle or I think add to the secondary with a corner. I think most of the tackles that would warrant a first round pick would be gone by the time they're going. So I think the one I kind of have my eye on, and I'm going to butcher his name, but Azaria Thomas from Florida State, corner with Florida State. He's lengthy and is like the perfect. He plays like L'Jarius Sneed. Big physical 6'2", 200-pound press corner that can physically reroute receivers. If that translates to the NFL, I mean that's a perfect kind of prospect to add to the defense and give Spags kind of that L'Jarius Sneed type player back, to help with things in the secondary.
Okay. I like it. Okay. All right. For me, I'm sure the sexy, picks for the Chargers, especially, would be to look at the tight end room and the wide receiver room first. Of course, what Harbaugh loves to do is look at the O lineman, but I'm actually looking at going ahead. If assuming we don't bring J.K. back or sign somebody like a Javonte Williams like I would like to have, I'm looking at because I'm a little bit surprised he came out, but Quishon Judkins from Ohio State, 6'2", 219 running back. Yeah, I'm looking to see where he lands because again, if he falls out of the first round for like running backs tend to do here lately, if you're not Austin Gentry, right? I think that they may be able to snag him in the second or third round, and I'll be all for that. And getting him in our system because again, we are predicated on running the ball first. We're a run first team, so we can get him. I'm looking at Mason Taylor's tight end as well, Jason Taylor's son. From LSU, he'd be a good prospect, 6'6", big target, 245 pounds. So that that'll be my backup pick. But either one of those, I will be completely happy with getting them outside of the first round because I do believe that we should go tight end if a prospect is there that we can utilize and be worth the pick, and or wide receiver in the first round, and then we can do other skills after that. But for sure, definitely, if you could get either one of those guys in the second or third round, I would definitely take a big swing on them, and I think it'll pay off.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think I would like Scattaboo if we can get him kind of later in the round. Maybe Scattaboo, yep, in the third or maybe like the fourth round at a ASU. So I would definitely not mind that. I think JK does come back though. All the signs kind of point to
I think it just comes down to money, really. Just what they want paying. Yeah, I think it's really come down. He wants to come back. I agree with you. It's just a matter.
I don't think anyone's paying him big money. I mean, he didn't play the whole year. The same injury concerns were there, so I don't think he played himself into a huge bag anywhere.
But I think he played himself into a decent enough contract.
I agree. I give him at least a 2-year deal. I give him a 2-year deal. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, something reasonable for his I guess you can say production and his availability. So hopefully. But again, it's just a matter of what he wants. But I think we'll get the first right of refusal when it comes down to whether or not he will come back for the Chargers or not. But I do believe, it's a two-back league. If your name isn't Saquon, it's a two-back system league here. So I think you're going to need two backs, especially if you're going to be running heavy and run-oriented like we are. So I think that we definitely should go and get another young-legged running back in the draft if we can get one in the second or third round, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, unless you're Saquon or Derrick Henry.
Right. Yeah, in that case, as long as they're healthy, you don't need anybody else. But there's only two guys out of 32 teams. Everybody else uses two backs or more. For sure. Okay. All right, man. That's going to do it for us, man. If you are looking for any of these gentlemen outside of the pod, we have their socials here. If you're looking for them in any space, like I said, if you reach out to them directly, there's their social media accounts. Mike Dub, Commanders Insider, and his socials. Alex, Chiefs Insider is his socials, and Robert is only on Twitter at the moment, I believe. So we got his socials there as well. So
we'll get my Instagram up soon.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, for sure. For sure. But yes, as always, reach out to the guys individually if you have questions about their teams. And if you have general questions about the podcast, the league in general, you can reach us on our socials for the network. And here's their tags here. We're on pretty much all platforms that are popping. TikTok until further notice, but everything else seems to be flowing well. And as always, drop a subscription to our channel on YouTube and let us know you're out there. And we'll be back. So this show is going to traditionally run once a month, in addition to our daily content. But that depends on the fans. If the show is something you want to see and you don't want to wait weeks for it, let us know in the comments based upon how much you want to see the show, and we'll adjust our live rate shows accordingly. So your viewership is in your hands. So let us know how you feel about it. If you want to see this show more often, we will definitely try to accommodate that, and let us know how you feel about it. And we'll watch and see what the opinions will be. I may even put a Twitter poll up there and put a YouTube poll up there, see how you feel about the show, see if you want to see it more often. Maybe we'll do it twice a month, 3 times, depending on where guys' availability is. So we'll see how things go. But I think it's going to be a pretty good offseason. I think we got good things ahead. So we're going to be broadcasting live each and every day, Monday through Friday. Content from each one of these gentlemen on the screen here, and we will be back with another live show here in a minute. So we'll be getting ready for free agency and in the draft, and maybe we have some trade rumors by then, for sure. But any parting word from you guys before we get out of here?
Go Birds, fly Eagles, fly.
Man, whatever.
I'm not saying anything.
Just hate us because you ain't us, man.
I just want a good game. Just give me a good Super Bowl. I'm good. I just want to see good football. That's all.
Right.
That is all. All right. All righty. So we're out of here. The Wolves are back in the building. We'll be back next month, unless you wanted it earlier. We'll see how it goes. But until then, Coach Mike Dub, the real AG Alex Givens, young RG Robert Garcia, and your man Coach Devens will be back next time on the NFL Offseason Blitz. Peace.